Good morning. Pondering here this morning. As I came out of the meditation room and wrote the title and the blurb, then I began checking emails, and I'm almost wanting to go in a little bit different direction. Maybe it's both things that I'm going to be covering today. Let me just give you the title and the little blurb, and then we'll chat some. Show compassion, for they know not what they do. And by the way, by the request of a friend, I'm starting to put the date at the beginning of each title. And I'm doing it the European way of the day, and then the month, and then the year. Although that's not the way I was taught. Anyway, the blurb for today's talk is, it seems as if the whole world was passing before me this morning. As I meditated, images flashed on the screen of my mind, showing scenes of abuse. Yet somehow, I could see beyond the horror of actions that the people were mostly clueless. I felt compassion where I would ordinarily find judgment rising. The words of Jesus came again and again. They know not what they do. Before I even got out of bed, I had these scenes of arrests. It all began with, I don't know where I was. I was in some room, a strange place, and the door was not secure. And I tried to latch the door, and two relatively short, dark-haired gentlemen forced their way in on me. And one of them was holding something to my lower abdomen on the left side. And I grabbed his arm and I was squeezing really tight, and that's when I fully woke up and they were gone. But as I lay there, other scenes that didn't involve me personally, people were seemingly be taken or attacked against their will or whatever. And it was like a panorama of scenes, like a video of jumping from one scene to the next scene to the next scene. And I continued, when I went into the meditation room, I continued in that vein of observing this thing as I went to pick up the globe, but I didn't even pick it up this morning. And I sense that something is being arrested here this morning. And of course, the arrests were supposedly happening yesterday, and there were some small reports of certain things taking place that might point in that direction. I don't know that the mainstream media is going to catch up right away, so even if they are taking place on a more broad scale of the cabal being arrested, I don't know that it would make mainstream media news very much yet. I do believe that ultimately that will happen, whether it's this sequence or another yet to come, I'm not sure. But arrests are going to happen, and they will probably happen, and this is one of the things I couldn't always tell if the people being arrested were the cabal or were ordinary people being arrested by the cabal and their minions. It was hard to distinguish exactly which role the various people in these scenes were playing. But again, what I was feeling was compassion. And if I had been able to identify who it was that was being arrested, I might have had a different reaction. But because I couldn't identify the roles and the players, that probably tended more toward a compassionate response rather than a judgmental response. And indeed, it doesn't even matter what the roles are. because most of humanity is clueless. Most of humanity doesn't know what's going on and what they're doing. Most of humanity simply reacts and does not choose deliberate response and cautioned progression of how to respond, a measured progression of response. Most just simply react in the moment to whatever is going on, to whatever feelings are there. Oftentimes anger and rage, oftentimes pain and sorrow. We are in a time of change. We are in a time when things are going to be happening that are going to upset the apple cart and challenge the status quo. It amazes me in the thread that's been going on Facebook since I posted it yesterday. I got an email yesterday from one of my friends who had written me, only befriended me not very long, within the past week. And the first email he sent me was, I heard you're a New Age cult leader. I'd like to know what your teachings are so that I can follow you, or something like that. And I responded, I'm not a cult leader, and I have no desire for followers. All I try to do is to get people to listen to their own heart, trust their gut, and follow the leading of the Spirit in their lives. And he wrote yesterday, I am an NSA agent. You are being monitored. Stop trying to create a coup against the government, or something like that. I don't remember the exact words, but scores of people, or scores of comments have been made, much by a handful of people probably, but a lot of people have jumped in on that one. And the amazing thing to me is this person who seemed to unfriend me yesterday because I could no longer link on, but he seems like he's back today, and made a lot of comments through the night while I was sleeping. But anyway, he and so many others seem to have the idea that the government is doing a good thing. And when I say the government, I could be talking about any government in the world, because they all are following what I see as fraud. But there's some people that actually think that admiralty law and maritime law and the commercial system is a good thing. They see it as wonderful, and it's okay that it defrauds people because people aren't awake, and they deserve what they're getting. And I think that's really misguided, because I don't believe that fraud is ever the way to accomplish anything good. Although, obviously, I've said in the past, and I still believe, that even the Illuminati are playing a role in the awakening. All the dark stuff that's happening is part of the awakening process. I accept that, I see that, I can embrace that paradox. And yet, to call fraud and disinformation and misinformation and outright deception, to call that good, it just doesn't compute for me. I'm sorry, it doesn't compute. I don't think anything but love and truth are viable means of producing the kind of consciousness that I'd like to see manifested in the world, and I believe is being manifested slowly but surely. Somebody, my friend Mr. Ed, sent me some pictures of restoring faith in humanity, and there were some really nice ones. I posted that on my Facebook page yesterday, and it got quite a few comments and quite a bit of response. And again, Facebook tends to get much more response than YouTube, and I spend more time on Facebook than I do on YouTube. But in any case, changes are happening in the world, and how people, I mean, this guy, I don't know, he says he's a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something like that in one of his posts. I mean, I read through them all before I actually started today's video, and there were people attacking him and he was attacking others, and but how are they seeing that we need this strong? One of his things was about needing the strong nuclear power of the U.S. That's important to maintain stability and order in the world. No, the United States and our military and our system is responsible for all of the disorder in the world, not order. They don't keep order. They make disorder. We, the United States, are a terrorist nation, as seen by most of the people in the third world that see with any clarity whatsoever, and most of the people that, from my perspective, that have any level of intelligence, see that that the Mossad in Israel, that's the CIA, the NSA, and some of these three-letter agencies, and the MI5 and MI6 and in Britain, and some of these other so-called intelligence agencies, they are the terrorists. They're the ones that are out trying to stir up strife and to create violence in the streets. Sometimes they use actual police, undercover policemen, to go in as demonstrators. This is well-known fact. This has been revealed and reported in the alternative media. I don't know about the mainstream media so much, but in the alternative media, it's certainly been well reported. The terrorists are the people that have been running the show, and they've got to be getting scared. Spirit just reminded me. What were we trying to tell you? Spirit's saying to me. What were we trying to show you? Compassion. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. Can we be responsible if we really don't know what we're doing? I do believe that a lot of people do know what they're doing, but no one sees the whole picture, not even me. Not even me. Or if someone does, I haven't met them yet. Although there's a lot of wisdom posted by my friends, I believe I can contain some wisdom and share some wisdom that Spirit gives me. But I have to admit, I don't see the whole picture, which is why my emotional body and my emotions are all over the place. Why there is an emotional roller coaster. Because I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't be tossed about by all of the images and feelings that come up. I don't think the feelings would be flowing quite so much. But they are. And this is a time, I guess this is what Spirit's trying to get me to say. This is a time when we each have a responsibility to show compassion like we've never shown before. And to recognize that a lot of what's happening is happening at the unconscious level of our being. It's the shadow coming to the front. And most people still think the shadow is something bad. And they still think that all of these things that are happening is necessarily bad. It's not. But we do need to recognize that the fraud and the deception of the matrix that we've been living in has only had the purpose of trying to get our attention and wake us up. And now its job is done. There's enough people on the planet to shift everything and to receive the help that the extraterrestrials are trying to give us. They're not saving us, they're helping us. And there's a huge difference. If we weren't involved, then they'd be rescuing us. But we are involved. And it's time to balance this thing on Earth with benevolence instead of malevolence. The malevolent people, the malevolent beings have had control of our culture for far too long. It's time for the benevolence to rise up, to be compassionate, to show mercy with the judgment that must necessarily occur, to hold people accountable for what we have done on either side. On either side, not just the elite, but all of us need to be accountable for our lives. We need to be responsible for the decisions we've made and for the lack of making decisions that have allowed the complacency and the apathy to predominate our culture, so that evil men and evil systems could exert such a strong and, I was going to say negative influence, but really ultimately it's a positive influence, but it's a painful influence nevertheless. It's painful. These scenes were painful. Now, I felt no pain in the little thing that I said that started the whole thing, of these two young dark-haired men. And I don't know what they did. I think it was just they showed that they could get to me, and that's okay. As long as they didn't hurt me, there was no sense of any pain. I don't know what it was he was holding to my gut, no sense of pain. But I want to encourage you, maybe, that there doesn't have to be a lot of pain if we can show compassion, if we can be in the place of love and mercy and grace. We can make this whole transition a lot easier and a lot more gentle. There's still going to be upheavals, but it can be a lot more gentle than some predict. Anyway, these are my thoughts this morning. I feel like I've been rambling. I don't know if I've said much of anything. I have to go back and listen. But I do appreciate you listening, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Namaste.